In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a one-piece welt pocket. So this is what the welt pocket look like. And for this style, it works really well on a shirt, okay? Like this. So I'm gonna use a mini shirt that I made just for demonstration only. So your pattern is not gonna look that small, okay? So when you decide to put a welt pocket on a shirt, first thing you want to decide is how wide of an opening that you want on that pocket. And then after that, you want to know how thick of the welt piece that you want to make. So for a shirt, 1/2 inch is pretty decent size. So I'm going to make a 1/2 inch welt. Okay. So decide how wide if it's a girl, you want to make sure your hand can go in. You don't want to be too tight. You don't want to be too loose. For a guy, you can make them a little bigger. So for this one that I made is 4.5 opening. So you're going to decide where the location you want. And you're going to make 4.5 opening. So I'm going to draw a line. Okay. And this is the location of the shirt, the height where I want it. Then you are going to decide 4.5 inch where you want the pocket to be. So here is start from here. So I'm just gonna do a line here. I'm gonna do 4.5 inch. So I'm gonna make in darker ink just to see where you want that pocket to be. So it's going to be 1/2 inch, okay? And 4.5 inch. So why? So to do that, I draw a straight line and then I'll draw 2 lines outside of that. So it'll be a straight line, 1/4 on each end. Okay, like this. And then after that, so this is the width of your welt piece. This is the finished measurement, 4.5 inch wide, 1/2 inch tall, the height of your welt. Then inside of that, you're gonna take a pen or pencil. Normally I use pencil, but for demonstration, for recording, I'm using a black pen. I'm going to go in 1/4 on both ends to draw a line. And then in the middle, that line that I draw in the beginning, I'm going to draw a little X. So I have an X here for my punch hole. So, and I'm going to use a pen to circle that in red. So for my punch hole, when I mark this on my fabric, I'm going to do that little circle. My X, the cross is going to be my punch hole. That's a marking I want to do on my fabric. So this is the marking on your pattern that you need to have, that punch hole marking. Then you wanted to decide how big of the pocket you want, like how deep. So you know the opening is 4.5. How deep do you want that pocket to be? Okay, so decide how big. Let's say I'm going to do 5.25, right below my my welt piece. So I'm just gonna draw like the line, what I want, just to see if that's what I'm looking for. So it's 5.25 below my welt. Okay. So this is the pocket, the finished pocket that I want. And a lot of time I curve the bottom of the pocket. So you can do something like that. So this is the finished measurement that you want. So when I decide to make a pocket, I always draw it on my pattern and see what they look like. So I know if I put my hand in, this is what it looked like. This piece right here is the welt, okay? This black line here is the welt, and then my pocket here like that. So once you got the measurement that you want, you're gonna need another piece of paper to create the pocket. So you're gonna take the opening measurement, and you can do this drafting on half. So if you're gonna do on half, you're gonna just fold your paper on the half, and 4.5 inch opening, half of that is 2 1/4. So I'm gonna draw 2 1/4 width. So you're gonna do that on making a line where the fold line is, draw in 2 1/4. Okay, then you're gonna decide below the welt how deep your pocket is. I decided to do 5 1/4. So I'm gonna do 5 1/4 deep. And then draw that line. So here is my pocket. Now I have to calculate the welt that I'm gonna make. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna add 1 inch to that. That's the welt piece that we're gonna, because we're making a 1-piece self welt pattern right now. So I'm gonna add 1 inch. So this 1 inch is my welt, and this is the deepness of my pocket. Now you want to put seam allowance outside to that. If you decide to round your bottom of your pocket, then you want to draw the roundness of your pocket first before you put seam allowance. So now I can put seam allowance outside of that. Outside of that, seam allowance get 1/2 inch. So outside of your finished pocket measurement, you are going to do 1/2 inch. There you go. Then you can cut them out. And make sure you hold your paper really tight and you cut them very straight. You don't want your line to move. Okay. So this is my pocket that have the welt piece. Okay. Then your next one, you're gonna make a pocket. Do not count the welt piece, but you will count the seam allowance. And then what you can do is you need another piece of paper. Okay. You're gonna need another piece of paper, and oh my gosh, that's just enough. You're gonna fold it. You're gonna fold it in half, and you're gonna trace. You're gonna trace this. Right here. And you're gonna subtract 1 inch, because the pocket that we have in the beginning that have the welt, this one don't have the welt. On this pocket piece, it's called top pocket. On the one that do not have the welt, is the bottom pocket. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a green line. The bottom pocket do not get that 1 extra inch long. It's gonna be the finished measurement of your pocket. And then you're gonna cut, and make sure you're gonna cut off 1 inch that from the original one that we copy from. So here's that. So the pattern here is 1 inch shorter. And when we trace and copy this pattern do not need to add seam allowance because on the pattern we copy from already have seam allowance. When the pattern already have seam allowance, you're just going to draw in because your pattern already have seam allowance. When you're making the first one is when you don't have seam allowance on the original or what you want to finish. That's when you draw out seam allowance. So I'm going to draw in just to mark my pattern that I know this is the seam allowance. And I always, when I have my pattern, I always draw my graying line in. And so this is how you have your top pocket and bottom pocket, okay? And then you are going to do the punch hole, okay? So you are, because this goes to here, and you're gonna do a punch hole on your pattern. So you're gonna place, this is the finish right here that you want, and you're gonna place the punch hole 1/4 in this way. So if you place your finished pocket on top of your marking, and your punch hole is right here, 1/4, and that's the location you're going to put the punch hole. 1/4 down and 1/4 in. And you want to do that on both sides. So when you do the punch hole, you're gonna poke through both of your pockets, and you copy on the other side the punch hole, and that's your marking. So you're gonna circle that in red. So your top pocket get punch hole, your bottom pocket do not get punch hole. And then you can cut it how many pieces that you want. If you want 2 pockets on your shirt, then you write cut 2. If you want 1 pocket on your shirt, you write cut 1. So the one that have punch hole is the top pocket. And then your size on your garment. And this is the bottom pocket. Or sometimes they call under pocket. Bottom and under is the same thing. And then you put your cell number and so on. But now what we need to do is make a small little fabric that, not fabric, the small little piece of pattern that is going to be interfacing. So anytime you do a welt, it's nice to have the interfacing. It gives structure to the welt area. So you're going to take your top pocket and you are going to trace on a little piece of paper, and you want to make sure you are at least 3/4 inch past the finished welt. So we are going to do the pellon 2 1/4. So I'm going to draw 2 1/4 height of a pellon piece that I'm going to use. I'm going to iron to my pocket. So I'm going to take this, lay this on top of it, on that 2 1/4, and I'll trace the width of my piece. And I'm going to mark the same location of punch hole on here because we're going to iron this on the top. So now I can mark my punch hole like this, and I'm going to circle that in red, and I'm going to label this in red because this is going to be the interfacing. Okay, so you're going to cut this out. You're going to cut this out. And this is going to support the welt. And you're gonna label either the word interfacing or you will label the word pellon. And then how many pieces to cut. Okay, and I'm gonna write this welt because this is supporting the welt. So when you cut in fabric, and you're gonna cut this in interfacing, and you're gonna iron this interfacing on top of your top pocket onto the wrong side. And then the next video I'm gonna do is to show you how to sew this welt pocket. So this is how you're gonna make the pattern for the welt pocket. Okay, so you have a pattern that have bottom pocket, and you have a top pocket. Then you have a little welt piece on interfacing only to support the sewing of the welt here. And we are going to sew this up. So this goes here. Okay, so that's how you make the pattern, and I'm going to demo on the sewing next.